Kirsten Ayers.
And Madison Nabako. Today on Historical Events, we'll be talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Japanese fought on even after the war ended in Europe. Truman decided to use the newly developed atomic bomb to end the war quickly and prevent more U.S. casualties.
The Enola Gay dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. It happened in Japan on August 6, 1945, killing about 78,000 people and injuring 100,000 more. On August 9th, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, Japan, killing another 40,000 people.
Wow, Kirsten, that's a lot of people.
It is, Madison.
Here is some live footage of the bombings in the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
This footage may be devastating to some viewers.
On August the 6th, 1945, two American Super Fortress bombers arrived over the Japanese city of Hiroshima on the world's most devastating military mission. The Enola Gay, with Colonel Paul Tibbets at the controls, was about to drop the first atomic bomb, a weapon conceived by a group of international scientists based at Los Alamos in the United States. So far, no one knew exactly what effect the bomb would have, either on the unsuspecting inhabitants below or on the crew of the plane itself. They were soon to find out.
As the bomb went off, the whole inside of the airplane just lit up as if someone had set off a flashbulb. And then we had to wait. This was our big worry, is what would the blast do when the blast got to the airplane. And finally the blast did arrive. It was like being in an ash can and getting someone kicking. And then we crowded to the window and saw just the whole city completely covered in smoke with this very tall mushroom cloud rising from it.
President Truman had already threatened the Japanese with a rain of ruin from the air, the like of which has never been seen on this earth. When the truth was revealed, his words seemed an understatement. Buildings vaporized, so did the clothes on people's backs. Was it a bomb that should never have been dropped? Some people thought so. Others argued that it shortened the war and kept the subsequent peace. One thing was not in doubt. Hiroshima taught mankind the awful truth about nuclear weapons and just what horror they could bestow.
The attack on Pearl Harbor occurred on December 7, 1941. The Japanese attacked the United States without warning. A total of 2,335 U.S. servicemen were killed and 1,143 were wounded. 68 civilians were also killed and 35 were wounded. The Japanese lost 65 men, with an additional soldier being captured. The attack on Pearl Harbor brought the United States into World War II.
The Japanese used the codename Operation Hawaii for the attack on Pearl Harbor. This later changed to Operation Z. The Japanese specifically chose to attack on a Sunday morning because they believed Americans would be more relaxed and thus less alert on a weekend. The Japanese launched their airplanes in two waves, approximately 45 minutes apart.
When the Japanese left Pearl Harbor at 9:45 a.m., the Americans didn't realize the attack was actually over. They expected another wave to hit. The day following the attack on Pearl Harbor, U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared that December 7, 1941, would be a date that will live in infamy. The United States declared war on Japan on December 8, 1941, the day following the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941, here dramatically shot by Japanese film crews for propaganda purposes, not only crippled America's Pacific Fleet, it changed the course of history. Just the day before the raid, President Roosevelt had personally appealed to Emperor Hirohito not to drag their two countries into war. But it was too late. Japan had formed a secret pact with Germany to attack the Allied forces in Europe and in the Far East. America at that stage was neutral, but generally sympathetic to the Allied cause. This was an attempt to destroy American military power in the Pacific before she could strike back. After this massive attack, Europe's war became America's, as Senator Connolly, chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, made abundantly plain.
With unbelievable treachery and craftiness, Japan has attacked our territory and murdered American citizens. Japan began this war in treachery. We shall end it in victory.
Within hours of the Pearl Harbor raid, American Army and Navy officers were called from their homes and weekend golf clubs to meet at the War Department to prepare to retaliate. President Roosevelt officially informed Congress that a state of war now existed between the United States and Japan. Within hours, Congress gave him the authority to prosecute the conflict all out. The legacy of the raid was enormous. 5 American battleships were sunk or damaged beyond repair. 200 aircraft were destroyed and more than 2,400 people killed. But more than that, Pearl Harbor led directly to what truly became the Second World War.
On D-Day, June 6, 1944, General Dwight E. Eisenhower led U.S. and Allied troops in an invasion of Normandy, France.
The armies fought their way through France and Belgium and into Germany, while Russian troops fought from the east.
On May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered.
Adolf Hitler was the dictator of Germany. In 1919, Hitler became the 55th member of a small party called the German Workers' Party. Hitler soon became the party's leader, created a 25-point platform for the party, and established a bold red background with a white circle and swastika in the middle as the party's symbol. In 1920, the party's name was changed to National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party. Over the next several years, Hitler often gave public speeches that gained him attention, followers, and financial support.
In 1932, Hitler was granted German citizenship. On January 30th, 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor. Hitler then used his high-ranking position to gain absolute power over Germany. This finally happened when Germany's President Paul von Hindenburg died in office on August 2nd, 1934. As dictator of Germany, Hitler wanted to increase and strengthen the German army as well as expand Germany's territory. Although these things broke the terms of the Versailles Treaty, the treaty that officially ended World War I, other countries allowed him to do so. Since the terms of the Versailles Treaty had been harsh, other countries found it easier to be lenient than risk another bloody European war. On April 29, 1945, Hitler married his longtime mistress, Eva Braun. The following day, April 30th, 1945, Hitler and Eva committed suicide together. What a great marriage.
The Nazis, led by Adolf Hitler, who came to power in January of 1933, wanted to create a homogeneous state of what the Germans thought to be the superior race. We are now going to enter the concentration camp of Auschwitz. In addition to Jews, the Nazis targeted gypsies, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the disabled for persecution. Anyone who resisted the Nazis was sent to forced labor or murdered. The Nazis used the term the final solution to refer to their plan to murder the Jewish people. The Nazis killed approximately 2/3 of all Jews living in Europe. An estimated 1.1 million children were murdered in the Holocaust.
Laws issued on September 15, 1935, began to exclude Jews from public life. The Nuremberg laws included a law that stripped German Jews of their citizenship and a law that prohibited marriages between Jews and Germans. The Nuremberg laws set the legal precedent for further anti-Jewish legislation. After World War II started in 1939, the Nazis began ordering Jews to wear a yellow Star of David on their clothing so that Jews could be easily recognized and targeted. After the beginning of World War II, Nazis began ordering all Jews to live within certain, very specific areas of big cities called ghettos. Jews were forced out of their homes and moved into smaller apartments, often shared with other families. Within Nazi concentration camps were horrible. Prisoners were forced to do hard physical labor and yet given tiny rations. Prisoners slept 3 or more people per crowded wooden bunk, no mattress or pillow. Torture within the concentration camps was common and deaths were frequent. This was an example of a concentration camp bed. The Jews had to sleep on this.
The largest ghetto was in Warsaw, with its highest population reaching 445,000 in March 1941. Nazis would then order deportations from the ghettos. In some of the large ghettos, 1,000 people per day were loaded up in trains and sent to either a concentration camp or a death camp.
To get them to cooperate, the Nazis told the Jews they were being transported to another place for labor. While concentration camps were meant to work and starve prisoners to death, extermination camps, also known as death camps, were built for the sole purposes of killing large groups of people quickly and efficiently. The Nazis built 6 extermination camps, but Auschwitz and Majdanek were both concentration and extermination camps.
Prisoners transported to these extermination camps were told to undress and take a shower. Rather than a shower, the prisoners were herded into gas chambers and killed. Auschwitz was the largest concentration and extermination camp built. It is estimated that 1.1 million were killed at Auschwitz.
Wow, I still cannot believe that happened.
I know, that was a terrible, horrific time in the world.
Well, that is all for CNN News. I hope you learned a lot. Have a good night.